Welcome to the Journey to Wellness podcast, sponsored by the Essential Wellness Society and Healing Wheel Holistic. I'm Melissa Stonehill Caiyem, and I will be your host. With over 40 years experience in the health and fitness industry, I am ready to dive in to some of the most conflicting topics we have regards to health today. Let's go. Welcome to the Journey to Wellness podcast. Today, my good friend joins me, Russell Crouch. We've known each other for 50 years. That's 50. And now today we work together, play music together, cook together, and we have coffee quite often. Mm-hmm. So those coffee conversations are kind of a deep dive on their own. And when I, always have this like alter ego, this Alice in Wonderland alter ego since I'm a child, always found her so interesting. And then I always thought you were like the Cheshire Cat. You were like that Cheshire Cat image in my head. I don't know if you ever knew this, but this was always what was going on in my head, that you were like that. And then we kind of, life happens and you go your separate ways and raise your families and everything. And then we reconnected several times over the decades, but most recently reconnected over some like really intense life-changing situations. One, I was really sick with COVID in 2020. And at the time you were studying philosophy. And it was really great because you would send me these emails and texts. And I don't know if you knew that a lot of the things that you were sending me were actually keeping my head above water, because it was at a time where, I was sick with something, people were dying from it, and didn't even know like really what to do other than pull out all of my herbs and all my holistic practices. But having all of that really helped me. And what I want to dive into was something that was really life-changing for me. Was over the years I had developed that fear of flying, and I had worked really to get over it because my kids live all over the country. I have grandkids all over the country, and I felt like it was stopping me from seeing my kids. And I went into some therapy for fear. I did tapping and all of that. But I have to tell you that you helped me more than anybody. You don't have those credentials next to your name, but it doesn't even matter to me, because what you gave me to deal with that particular fear was so priceless and so amazing. And that was a real hook for me to not only just move forward in my own life, but then to share this vision of Healing Wheel retreats with you and be like, no, you got to be in business with me. Come back over here. So I want to talk a little bit about that, remapping the brain, and some of the dialogue between us, and some of the gifts that you were able to give me to help me get unstuck. Because I think a lot of people that are listening to this podcast could really benefit from tools to help them with whatever they feel is putting them in a position of fear, specifically fear. I think we can dive into that.
Well, that's a great topic. When I was sending you that stuff, when I was sending you that info, I was basically just listening to videos and then transcribing them, and for myself, because after having a bad car accident, I couldn't get it back together. I was in bed for a lot of years. And the doctors couldn't really help because I wasn't really broken where you can put a cast on it. And so it took a long time to kind of pull it together. And I did that by basically saying, so if my body hurts in this place, it doesn't actually hurt in that place. The nerve endings go all the way up into your brain. And so then it dawned on me, oh, wait a second, I have a brain injury. So then if I rethink things and look at things differently from a different point of view, in other words, what they call remapping, which I didn't know that was a thing, because I was out there on an island kind of by myself, then that might do something. I don't know what. And so I started just inquiring into the internet on every subject that I was interested in, going back to the origin of time, the origin of history, the origin of the planet, what are molecules. And I ran into some things that absolutely blew my mind. And like, for instance, one thing that might blow your mind is something called the double slit experiment. The double slit experiment is an experiment done in the 30s. And they were shooting photons into these little slits. And then behind the slits were just paper. And they could see how the photons landed into these little tiny places. And then when they left the room, the photons did something different. And when they came back and looked at it, the photons acted the other way.
Interesting.
And they called it, they act as a wave or not as a wave. But they only did it when it was being observed.
So they knew they were being observed.
How in the world can that be?
Right.
And so why isn't that on the top of every book you would ever read? Because that says something. So from that little piece of tidbit of information, the first manuscript I wrote was called Understanding, which I was trying to encapsulate everything that I had learned. And then I ran across some amazing thinkers that aren't really mainstream, although if you're in philosophy, probably they are mainstream. But it goes to the Stoics, it goes to Socrates, it goes to a few, like 1,000 years later, Descartes, who said, I think, therefore I am. Mm-hmm. And if you think about that, I think, therefore I am, but we're just having impulses. So if I scratch your knee, that impulse is going to run up and it's going to make you think, ow. So are we just a series of impulses or hunger pains or, oh, I'm sleepy, or I want to have sex, or like, are we just these desire mechanisms? What is me? So I think, therefore I am got completely thrown out by other great thinkers. And then I ran across a Scottish thinker by the name of David Hume. David Hume from Scotland. He's the one that really brought to the surface that our emotional content takes over our intellectual content. So even though we think certain things, oh, I shouldn't make a pass at that girl. I shouldn't, intellectually I know I shouldn't do this, but you do it. What the hell is going on? Why do we make life-changing mistakes based on our emotions? We do all the time. Then from David Hume, then I ran across a guy named Spinoza. Spinoza was really encouraging for me because Spinoza said to study everything, and that gets you as close as you can to eternal totality. And that's like, what? Study? How do you study everything? So he's like, encompass it all. So that led me to these great spiritual ideas of the Vedas, of Ramana Maharshi, Krishnamurti, and these great thinkers. And Krishnamurti, because you mentioned fear, Krishnamurti really talks about fear. And I had been studying him when you were going through this thing. And and I already know for a fact, you can overcome anything that you want to. You absolutely, there's not even a question. I wonder if you can. Of course you can. Because you're in control of your mind. So your mind created the fear. So since fear is just generated by your own thoughts, you can absolutely overcome that. Now you have to be able to see yourself. You have to be able to see yourself. You have to be able to see yourself unseparated from fear.
what I really liked about it, I just want to interject,
Yeah.
was that, a lot of modern practices that address fear specifically take you on a journey into, where did this first occur? And now you're going back into your childhood, and now like all this crap comes up. Like, some of us may have had traumatic childhood experiences, and maybe some of us didn't. But for those that have, and now you're going into something else. And I started to get panic attacks because it was bringing up all this stuff that I had already gotten over. And it was like I was moving on. But modern psychology wants to say, like, no, you haven't gotten over this. And because of this, now you're feeling that. And I was really bought into the process because I just wanted to be able to get on a plane. And as I was going through that process, I found myself physically getting worse. And I will say this, that after we took that first flight, I didn't do great. I mean, I got on the plane, which was better than I had. But I was kind of shook up for probably, I'd say 5 hours afterwards, like body tripping. I just didn't feel so great. But I will say that after that experience and then changing my mindset, I haven't had panic attacks. And I used to have them so often that I would wake up in the middle of the night choking, like literally gasping for air. And then they wanted to blame it on my thyroid, and then they wanted to blame it on hormones, and, a million different things. But, having a friend who had, obviously, you were studying a lot of amazing minds, but having that experience, and then, just to let people know, like, he did get on a plane from Las Vegas and flew out to Colorado Springs, and because I bought a plane ticket. And I'm like, well, it was really cheap. So, if I get to the gate and I change my mind, no harm, no foul. It's $30, big whoop, right? And he's like, no, you're getting on that plane because I'm flying there to make sure you get on that plane. I'm like, what? Because I bought the ticket, as a gesture of like, okay, I did that part. But like, am I really getting on? And then you made me get on. And then my doctor had want me to take a sedative, and I go reach and I'm going to go take the sedative, and you're like, no, you don't. You're not doing that. You're like, you're going to feel this, and you're going to feel scared, and you're going to feel all these things, but you're going to get through it. And man, that is a whole other level of like, if you're going to face a dragon, you're going to face the dragon, and you're going to feel the dragon's breath, and you're going to feel the heat, and you're going to sweat. And you may not want to do it, but you can't avoid it. And that, I really appreciated that, because if I had numbed myself, I would have never, ever dealt with it head on, But I was really powered up.
Well, just to sum up the whole thing, it's really one thing to hear from someone else or read it in a book, but it's another thing to really do the self-analysis. And that's really the important part. So whatever someone says, or I say, or any doctor says, that's one thing. But the other thing is to really absorb how you feel about it and really look at it yourself. That is how you basically get up to the levels that you need to get to.
Right.
Now, and without the desire, let's say you didn't have grandkids or a pressing desire to go on a plane. You would just, no big deal. You don't have to go on a plane. But you have desire. So right. Desire creates your problem. Your problem is your fear of flying. But you have this desire. You can't reconcile the two.
Right.
So you need to overcome it. And you did.
Yeah, not only that, we started a retreat company. It happened to be that we have one coming up in Colorado, and we were able to drive to Sedona because we had so much musical equipment and food and all the stuff that we do. But how am I, I got to get to Scotland. I'm not driving to Scotland.
That's coming up.
So what I feel like it does is when you can overcome these the imagination and overcome these self-inflicted
Perfectly said.
walls,
Mm-hmm.
the world opens up.
Mm-hmm.
The world opens up to you. And, I think it was easier for me to receive it from you because I've known you my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And, we talked today a little bit about, the heart of the athlete
Mm-hmm.
and the mindset of the athlete. And you're an athlete, and I've always been an athlete. And, there's a level of grit, I think, that we both share. That's not to say non-athletes don't have the grit, but I feel like when you have been in that competitive mode, you develop this one more chance, one more time, one more push. I think I can kind of mentality. And we talked about the Boston Marathon and
Mm-hmm.
the girl who lost her foot at the explosion. It's really sat really heavy with me. And, when there was the explosion that happened at the Boston Marathon, I'm the mother of a runner, so a distance runner. So these things like really get me. But she went back just this last weekend with a prosthetic foot and did that marathon in 5 hours,
Mm-hmm.
where so many people would have been like, okay, that's done. That's over. But the mindset, and back into remapping the brain, that's, I'm looping this in because I want people who are listening to know that they are the only ones who can get themselves unstuck, because they are the only ones that got themselves stuck
Mm-hmm.
in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't your mother, it wasn't your father, it wasn't your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your dog, your boss. It was your interpretation of the action. You created your prison. You created that for yourself. And that's what you had said to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you created this. You're the only one who can free yourself. How much are you paying for those
Mm-hmm.
psychology sessions, right? Because it should have been like, what do you mean you're on your 5th session?
Not that they're saying the wrong thing.
No, I
not
hear
to put them
that.
down over their practice. It's just that you have to take it to a deeper level in yourself to see it in yourself and not just listen to the words.
No, I agree with you. And it's okay that there's, a conflict in the topic. I'm okay with that because, as a nutritionist, I mean, I've practiced nutrition for 40 years now, right? But if I need to work with you nutritionally for years, then I'm something I'm doing isn't right. You're not getting it, or maybe I'm just keeping you on for my own personal pocket. Like, I'm just being real. So when I hear from people, I've been in therapy for years. I'm not putting down that you're in therapy for years, but I'm saying like maybe this is not working because I could have been hung up in that, get me out of my fear of flying therapeutic appointments. I could have still been there if I didn't have the right words said to me. And when that was really taking ownership. Yeah, you know what? I was in a really bad airplane. Really bad. It almost crashed. So it's not like it just came out of nowhere. I was in a really bad airplane. It almost crashed. But I get in a car every day. And I was in an automobile accident. So the fact is the plane didn't crash. It almost did. But I'm here to talk about it. But I can't let it stop me, because here's the deeper part. What are you afraid of then in the long run anyway? Right? I think that we're all so attached to, the fear of what if the plane crashed and I didn't make it or something, And I know that's like kind of out there to be
So
like,
fear's a big, heavy topic.
Yeah. And we just were talking to my son the other day, who was saying like he does fear fear zombies. I'm sorry, Zev. Right. But this zombie apocalyptic image is very fearful to him, because for a young person, the end of your life is also a very fearful topic. But so many people are driven by fear, and that, I think, puts walls around you where you may stay in a toxic relationship out of fear of getting out of it. You may not try something that you're really good at. I know people that won't put a pencil to paper because they say they can't draw. Picking up a musical instrument because you may not be good at it, or a weight loss journey because you're afraid that you're going to fail. So the topic was really significant to me. And
this also relates to how we're working together now with the retreat business, because it's not just a spa retreat. It's not just a good time margarita retreat.
Yeah, it's definitely not the good time margarita retreat, although, there are those. But when we say the words, it's thrown around so much, like reinventing yourself. But every day we wake up is that day where you can reinvent yourself. And, I'm not going to quote this correctly, but I believe it was the Buddha that said that in every second, there's thousands of opportunities to recreate, reinvent, redo. And depending on what you choose to do in that moment is going to change the direction of that day. But that doesn't mean tomorrow. And it's definitely not going to change yesterday. So then now we kind of look at, living now, living here and now at this moment in time. So I would say for people that are listening that share a fear of, I'm going to say flying because that's really was my number one thing. When I'm on that airplane and I think about all I have right now is this second. Well, that second just passed. Well, now I have this second. This is now. And I start thinking about that the whole flight. I'm much more relaxed because I'm in the moment and I'm not getting stuck in what happened in the past. And I think that's really important too.
The thought of that is, if you have a thought, the thought is based on your memory and that, or things that you've learned, and that is a past. So that thought is old. So you're not really living right now, because you can't have a thought right now, because once you think it, it's already old.
Right.
So that is almost a meditation, just to not think.
Right. And then the conditioning that comes along with that.
That is the conditioning that comes along with not thinking is that awareness. And then if you have this ability to take any action you want in the present moment, where's their fear?
Right. And so it's really amazing. And so when we, it was a summer of the mega COVID outbreak, and I was on a road trip, and I decided on the road trip, I was listening to, my husband was talking to me about how he had led a group of lung cancer survivors on a retreat in Leadville. And those of you that don't know where Leadville is, it's a city that's up at 10,000 feet. So when people come here from sea level, just breathing here in our city, which averages about 6,500, imagine these lung cancer survivors at 10,000 feet. And they had to hike in. So he was talking about his experience as a practitioner. And I was thinking about personal traumas that I'd been through, health, life, whatever. And I was thinking about you and your story of your accident, and literally when you just kind of glossed over that you were in bed for 3 years. I mean, that's like major, because you're an athlete and a doer, and to be down is just, it's like having something amputated, you're missing a part of your body. And so then I thought, you know what? Let's start a retreat company. What? What a crazy idea. Wait, we're in lockdown and we're separated and no, 6 feet apart. And my thought was like, yes, we need to dogpile. We need to, everyone needs to play. We need to get on the sandbox, and we have nutrition and music and food, and we can help people address their agoraphobia and the fear of being in crowds. And, Russ has so much to offer with that, and all the different things that we do in health and fitness, and let's just pull it together. And then I called you up, and it's like, either he's in or he's out. Let's see where it goes. And I was really grateful that you didn't go like, that's a crazy idea, because you didn't.
No ideas are crazy. But we were able to put together a great curriculum. And our first retreat in Sedona couldn't have been funner. And there's a lot of therapy and fun. And, we weren't just goofing around fun. It was like we had yoga, meditation, qigong, breakfast, hiking, spa sessions in the afternoon. And then everybody came back, and we had a great dinner and a fantastic music event with lights for 2 hours every night. And it created this environment. The music show at night created this kind of blank canvas for people to take in what they had just experienced. And it happened day after day after day. And that was the template. We made our template, because we're doing the same thing again in a couple months. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. And it was when I first got sick. I was sick for a long time. Actually, it was about 38 days. And I was trying everything I could to not go to the hospital. So I got into some quantum science. I don't like taking anything, like ear infection, this, that, I'm going to use herbs. I mean, there's a million other options on the planet than having to take a pharmaceutical drug. So when I was super sick, I was like, man, I just got to do something. And I started learning about tuning forks and vibration and sound. It's like, well, okay. So I had crystal grids, and I had herbs, and I had this and I had that. And I'm like, Reiki, and why not sound? Tesla and Einstein can't be wrong. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something to it. So I started playing around with frequencies. And
you sent me a bowl.
I sent you a bowl. I actually started to feel better, though. Mm. Yeah, I sent you the F bowl. It's a very significant bowl. But then I went a step further. When I got well, I wanted to now connect all this with a moving musical meditation and Reiki. And then we developed, you, myself, Shua, and Julie, the Medicine Music Project. Mm-hmm. And the Medicine Music Project is meant to, we want to create this space where people can come into a circle of solitude, where we can just kind of rain on them a bit with the music and the meditation and the Reiki, and understanding that this band of practitioners, because you teach Qigong and study philosophy, and we're all energy healers. We're all energy workers. So like even Yeshua, now that he's Reiki 1 and 2, he's like, well, how can I take these frequencies and develop these musical notes that affect the chakra? And so now he's like taking all this Reiki science and putting it into his guitar. Well, how cool is that? Mm-hmm. Right? So I'm really excited about the Medicine Music Project, and excited about what I have seen people experience. And when I'm out there and leading a meditation, you guys are playing, and then we start with Reiki, and we have some beautiful crystal pyramids too that we play. And when I'm out there and I see people literally like their bodies are like trembling, and it's just, it takes my breath away. Mm-hmm. It really does. it really takes my breath away because no one else is doing this. And I'm 60 years old. I've been around, grew up in Southern California where everything was the first to do everything, Ouija boards, tarot cards, you name it. I've never experienced anything like this or seen anything like this before.
Neither have I. From my point of view, the answer to our somewhat sick society in this propensity for war and domination is more sensitivity. And so by inviting people in to receive Reiki, also inviting people to learn how to do Reiki, to learn how to absorb power that's in the atmosphere and give it to somebody else, that requires a different level of sensitivity. Mm-hmm. That level of sensitivity, if humans lived on that level, of course, we'd be a lot more considerate. So maybe less selfish. So that's why I love it. I've never seen a music event. Music events like you have the Grateful Dead experience of that family type of experience, but a lot of it was drug related. Mm-hmm. And this is not drug related. This is sensitivity related. Right. And it involves really spacey music, far out sounds, and this action of being open to each other. And that is something that I hope we can develop more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you had mentioned, drugless, I think that's really significant, especially nowadays where, people are doing plant medicine and mushrooms and things like that. And because they're wanting to find themselves. And I've had friends that have gone to ayahuasca ceremonies and have told me that they've gotten more out of holotropic breathing. Mm-hmm. And that makes me really excited. If we can provide people more awareness of themselves, kind of being that witness to their own lives without drugs, with good food, with meditation, with movement, with hiking, with nature, with, spending 4 days, hashing over some philosophical papers written by great minds. Lots of love and art, always art, drawing, painting, photography. I mean, it's like this is like next level. Mm-hmm. This is so next level. And it's a keeper. You don't have to search outside yourself to find yourself because it's right in here. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like the biggest message for myself, going back to the fear. The biggest message was that I didn't have to search outside for the power, that the power was inside. So that was a really big gift. What I'm finding is this energy, this positive energy, can really be concealed, or I would say put many veils over when you don't eat right. Okay. And what do I mean by that? It's like if you want to kind of rise up to your best potential, but you're feeding your body with crap, it doesn't work for me personally. I don't know if it can work for other people, but let's say you just have this great experience and you're meditating and you're moving, you're doing Qigong, you're doing yoga, you're changing your mindset, you're being kinder. But what you're putting in your body comes from everything unkind. Then it doesn't work for me. So I would like to teach people how to, I'm going to call it a sacred kitchen, because I feel like taking back your kitchens is a really good concept. Mm-hmm. That Dr. Mark Hyman talks about taking back your kitchen, take back your kitchen, because this is the heart of the home. Your home here as your vessel, but also your physical home. So I don't think people know that you have a nickname of chef, but it's my nickname for you.
It's my job at the retreats, yes.
You're a chef.
Yep.
And you're so meticulous. It's so amazing. Like there's so much intention. And calculation, and you're so serious, you know, when you're putting together food. It's like you're having a good time, but like you're like in the zone, and it's actually quite fun for me to watch you work, and even more fun for me to watch you eat. So just real quick, you know, like, what's your connection to food?
Well, I've learned a lot from you as a nutritionist, and we have, with the retreats, incorporated either vegetarian or vegan or pescatarian type of cuisine. And I am picky. So when I'm putting together recipes from great chefs, you know, they're all great chefs. I don't care. I don't care if they're great chefs. I care how it tastes. So when I'm tasting it, I'm like, that was terrible. I can't do anything with terrible. So I have a picky palate. So it's not that I'm serious. I'm picky. So then putting together those recipes that are delicious is so much fun. It feels like a victory. And if it doesn't taste absolutely great, it's a real loser for me. So it all has to be up there.
Right. So
our retreats are great with the food.
Yeah.
Handmade tortillas, avocados, guacamole, really nice. Salmon, the heirloom cherry tomatoes, just with oregano and just so much garlic. It's like tastes so good. Right. Forget about it. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, it is exciting, you know, and food is my love language. Yeah. I love being able to give people good food. Mm-hmm. Because I really do feel food is medicine, and it's medicine. It's from the heart. Like, my son always jokes that he can't leave the house without me going, "Hey, you need a sandwich?" Mm-hmm. You're like, "Well, wait, you can't leave without a sandwich," because just making food for people just is my gift. It's my offering, and then working with you, it's phenomenal because it just takes it to another level. And then I get to be the art director and plate really colorfully awesome. And make it look really nice. So I love that aspect of it. So we have the food piece, we have the music piece, and we have the movement piece, because we're both athletic and we're both athletes, and that's been our life. So we really see that the body needs to be moving in order to have optimal health and wellness. Going back to how we started in the first place is that when people are ridden with fear or negative thoughts or anything like that, it also brings down, you know, you were talking about protons. So if you want to look, you know, biologically, it does bring down the gut flora and the bacteria mm-hmm. and the things in the body that the body reacts. The body reacts to the emotional self. So it's really important to be happy. It's super important to find joy in your life. And I believe that this is a mission statement that we both have, is that we provide the playground. Yeah. You know, that's what we're looking for, is that we can't promise you that you're going to have this life-changing, transformative experience. Like so many places say, come for 5 days, we'll transform your life. I will never promise you that. I don't know if you will promise somebody that. Of course not. I'm never going to promise anybody that. I won't promise you that that's going to happen, but I will promise you one thing. We're going to create the playground. We're going to create the space. We're going to create the space for you to learn anything that you want so that you can then work on yourself. Would you say that's correct? That sounds great. Yeah. So it was fun to chat with you. These are like our typical morning coffees. Like, they're so intense and so deep. We never be like, so how's the weather? Because that's always like much later in the day. First, we have to go through, you know, just like I said, you know, it's like Alice in Wonderland, down the hall, talking to the Cheshire Cat, you know, like it's always so deep, but it's great. It's great because these are the things that last. They're lasting. And I look forward for us to I hope that we can do 4 to 6 retreats a year. We do keep them small and intimate because we really like to love on people very deeply and really specifically. But yeah, you know, I'm really excited about this venture and couldn't be happier than to do it with my best friend from when I was 10. You know, it's like, if you can't trust your best friend that you've known for 50 years, let me tell you, you can't trust anybody then, right? So there you have it. So anything else you want to say?
I would like people to contact you to come to the retreats. They're not cheap, but typically we spend a lot of time with what goes on in our lives, like our content of experience. Mm-hmm. And in these retreats, you can have an opportunity to reflect and maybe take yourself up into another gear that's prescribed just for you because you're the one prescribing it. So that is a great opportunity. And I love that we can present that possibility for people.
Right. And then when we're not doing retreats, we cook for people. Mm-hmm. We cook for people with all kinds of ailments, people that just want to learn how to eat better. I do grocery store tours. The Medicine Music Project's available locally between Colorado Springs, Denver, Vail, this area here. And Russ teaches Qigong. We do a whole bunch of stuff. So www.healingwheelholistic.com. We also have a YouTube channel that we post our music on. And super excited to be doing this podcast to meet so many more practitioners. We love having practitioners enjoy our retreats as well as contribute to them. And hope to see you all at a retreat or at a Medicine Music Project event or a Essential Wellness Society event. We are broadcasting today from the Center for Essential Wellness on Austin Bluffs in Colorado Springs, essentialwellnesssociety.com. If you're not familiar with the Essential Wellness Society, get familiar. Check us out on Facebook. It's a great group. Thank you so much.
Thank you.